Good evening, one and all. Welcome once again to another episode of Caribbean Feedback. My name is Curtis Henry. I will be your moderator this evening. Good evening, people. How are you all doing today?
Greetings, wonderful. Greetings. I am doing beautiful. I'm doing lovely. I'm doing fine. I'm so happy to be my own boss today. So I'm just good. You know, just
that's
really
good. Be your own boss. You your own boss. I am my own boss.
That's right. That's
be
right.
your own boss. Show it there. Show it there. This, I think we have to make some of these shirts from Excel Apparel like a uniform that we have to put on, because we have some positive messages there. We have some positive messages. Mark Chase, you have your own business, Chase Audit Services. You are indeed your own boss, practicing entrepreneurship for quite some time, and I think we have to send that message home, keep drilling it into people's minds. It's okay. Now, we know everyone can't be a business person, everyone can't have a business, run a business, because you still have to find people to work. However, for the ones that do have that entrepreneurial spirit, I think we need to drive that home and encourage people to, Sam, do what?
Be your own boss.
Be your own boss. We have to drive that home. Good evening, people, once again, and welcome. Hit the thing. Let me run the show.
We're running it. All right. Let me hit that thing. Let me just make sure we have it in the vibes here. And yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
My name is Karin Forrester. I represent BantuKreations. BantuKreations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. BantuKreations can be found on IG and on Facebook as BantuKreations. That's BantuKreations with a K.
Come check me out, chriskeys.com. I'm worldwide.
Tony Altamirano.
Hi, I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
I'm an artist.
Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cup from Music by Tom Cups. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on upbeat.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis Henry. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people ask, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chat? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chat. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chat.
Chase, could you introduce yourself and tell the people who you are and what it is you do?
I am Mark Chase. I am the CEO of Chase Audit Services. We provide audit, accounting, and counseling services to both government and individuals as needed.
Thank you so much. Good evening, good evening. Good evening, Andrea Lamont. Good evening, Sherry Ann Sylvester. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure having you on board. Now, most of us here from the Caribbean. Sam, you from Tobago. Karin from Jamaica. Mark, you from Guyana.
She from Jamdown.
Starbuck Market. And I'm pretty sure you have a good recollection of the times you go to the market on a Saturday and you hear people, okra, £2 for $1, this pumpkin. Hey, we have fish, we have carrot, we have this, we have that, we have that. That's a common sound. Something we grew up listening to, something we grew up hearing. People come to the marketplace with their goods and they announce it for one and all to hear. Imagine this. In this country, starting in 1619, that was the year, where you could go to the marketplace and you hear, we got a buck over here, we got a buck over here, we got a family over here, 12-year-old girl, strong buck, could lift, he could do this, good carpenter, and put a price on a human being's head. We were sold as livestock at one point in time. As we entitled the show this evening, 1619 Negroes for Sale. Tonight, we set our sights on the 1619 project, which was developed by Nicole Hannah Jones and other writers from the New York Times. The 1619 project aims to reframe the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans, as they call them, at the center of the United States narrative. As far as I can recall, this has been the center of a lot of us narrative for quite some time. The African presence in the Americas is responsible for the excellence of this, or should I say these nations in the Western Hemisphere today. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up. In this country, Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, might have looked totally different if it wasn't for Benjamin Banneker. Yes, the same guy who invented the almanac, Benjamin Banneker, an intelligent architect hired by whom? George Washington, the first president of the United States to design the city of Washington, D.C. But check this out. He didn't just walk in and hand in a resume and get the job. He was actually referred to by Thomas Jefferson. Highly recommended Banneker to be placed on the planning committee to design Washington, D.C. Now, if we're talking about George Washington, we're talking about a time when slavery was in full effect. So Benjamin Banneker had to have been a slave, had to have been enslaved. Let's go back a little further than that. In the late 15th, early 16th century, the Moors were considered royalty in Europe. How did we, as a people of color, the Moors, the Egyptians, the people from this rich continent where we once possessed gold, manganese, diamonds, bauxite, oil, how did we fall from a state of distinction to one of ridicule and scorn? Some say slavery is to blame. Yeah, we know the Europeans did the the transatlantic slave trade. But let's not forget the trans-Saharan slave trade, which was run by Arab Muslims for some 1,500 years before the Europeans started. Today, there's a common inaccurate statement that is constantly made. Our children are taught in schools that slaves were brought from Africa. This is one of the most blatant lies that is still being told up to this day and taught in schools. Slaves weren't brought from Africa. Free men were caught and transported to the Americas and enslaved. In many cases, these men were skilled and educated men. And somehow they were brought here and then were led to believe that they were ignorant and uneducated. But come on, if you kidnap somebody, held them in bondage, transplant them to another man's land where everything of value is stripped away from you, your language, your religion, or your spirituality, your name, your family, and then those of your captor, your oppressor, are then forced upon you. Come on, indeed you will appear to be ignorant and uneducated. I've said it before and I'll say it again. One's pedigree is of vital importance. Your pedigree. And I have extreme difficulty identifying myself as a West Indian. A title placed on us, and we continue to perpetrate it, placing it on ourselves. Something placed on us based on the ignorance of a mass murderer and former slaveholder in the likes of Mr. Cristobal Colon, aka Christopher Columbus. I am not, and nowhere in my lineage has any of my foreparents descended from Indians, from the East or from the West. This man you look at today, I am the latest version, 2.0, of my ancestors who came out on the African continent. We need to stop making false assumptions as to who we are as a people and to our contributions to society and humanity as a whole. But something I learned as a carpenter is that no file or sandpaper could clean off a piece of metal once rust has eaten through it. And many of us are too far gone to be saved because the rust has already eaten through, deep down on the inside. I want you all to explain something to me, panelists. Explain something to me. Are schools teaching this 1619 project, or is this something new that they're just thinking about starting?
Good question. Good question.
They're fighting it.
I never learned that.
You have white parents fighting it. It's become a talking point for conservatives. Become considered dangerous to the benefit and welfare of all children because it's the truth. I was educated here in this country, and I was taught that slaves were happy. We're happy folks. Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima, we are happy. We're happy. Look at the size of my lips. We dance and then we got freed and things got tough because we had to work. But we don't like to work. We like to be happy. When I was a young boy, almost every image of a black person was that denigrated image. And there were black people who were standing up and saying, I am not that. I am not that. So I think there are a number of things that need to be understood here. This isn't slavery. None of this was about race. It's about
somebody got vilified the other day. I saw this on social media. Somebody made that exact statement, and they blame him and say the Republicans will find anybody to come out there and say anything. He made a statement that slavery was not about race, but more about economics. and we were just the ones that got caught up smack dead in the middle of it. Is there any truth to this?
Economically, there is. All right, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back when we were left alone on our continent to do our thing. Royals owned and still do own 90% of the land in most European countries. They ran something called peonage. You had a small piece of land that you could farm to feed yourself, but God forbid your ox died or something broke, you would have to go to the Lord of that land and say, my ox dead. Okay? I'll buy you a new ox. Your son will work for me. That's where we get the word peon. It was called peonage. The son could never pay back the debt because the Lord would feed the son and give him some raggedy clothes and so on. And he was forever indebted to the Lord. But there were some other people. There was a technical class, wheelwrights, cartwrights, so on and so forth, that really couldn't be messed with because the Lord needed them. And then there was a mercantile class. Well, the new land was founded, the Americas. And the mercantile class said, now we can get land, but what are we going to do with it? We have no peons. We have no one to work for us. The Spanish actually started first, and they tried to get the native peoples of the area to do it. Well, they brought diseases and killed most of them. That wasn't working. But we got this new continent that we've taken over. The first people that were brought were technical, to show them how to grow crops and how to live.
Were these enslaved people? Were these enslaved people, or they just kind of invited them as indentured laborers and then enslaved them?
The first people they brought in the 1500s were purely technical. They had never seen rice crops. They had never seen sugar cane. They loved the sugar. They loved the rice. They didn't know how to grow it. So they brought people. Then they said, we're taking people because now we know how to grow it, but we can't pick it. We can't harvest it. And we went from this little mercantile piece of land to 500,000 hectares. Slavery was economic.
So let me ask something here. We for generations we're talking about, okay, black people were picking cotton, in America, and our ancestors picked cotton. Karin, join in on this for me. What did us picking cotton really do for the American economy?
Well, it's documented that by the 1830s, we're talking about 1619 as the beginning of slavery, but by the 1830s, this country provided about 40% of the world's produce as far as raw cotton. And they made about 350 million pounds of cotton in the year 1831 to export. That's astonishing. Even by today's
all off of free labor.
Amazing.
All of a free labor.
Yeah, free.
So it's a beautiful thing when you can you have a staff, so to speak, of workers, and at the end of the week or the end of the month, you don't have any payroll.
I'm sure there are many companies that wish they could go back to that. I'm sorry.
Pay what? Pay who?
Pay what?
A payroll? What are some of the products we get from cotton, though? I know you get material, but what other good products you would get from cotton that is resourceful and beneficial?
They make gin.
Is there some cotton oil?
Gin. Correct? Am I correct in that?
Most of the cotton products are medical. For the most part. You have from the seeds and oil that's also medical. But you're talking about its significance in the 19th century is very different than its significance now.
Okay.
You're talking about an agrarian economy throughout the 18th and the 19th century. Okay, and this was how people who came here ostensibly for religious freedom to enslave others so that they could gain wealth and be free. Okay, one of the largest sale of slaves was by the Catholic Church at Georgetown University. They grew tobacco. That's how they formed the university. That's how and it was approved by the Vatican. Sell them to Louisiana. We can't afford it anymore. So you're talking about, that's economics. That's economics. And if you go through the 1619 Project, which I am a great fan of, all kids looking and being told the truth, let them decide for themselves. It gets worse. When the Civil War was lost.
Should we be doing this on our own in terms of educating our children as to our history in this hemisphere?
Well, we can't depend on the school systems in this country. That's what they
got to do it on your own.
It's a shame.
Everyone had to do their part. It looked like you had to just,
But one of the things that really grates my nerves is when Black History Month comes along. And all they seem to talk about is, well, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, I Have a Dream speech, and, well, Black people were enslaved. And there is nothing prior to that.
Let me throw this at you, Curtis. Why do you think it's the shortest month of the year that they put this month, the Black History Month in?
Well, I don't know. Everybody talk about that, but come on, we're talking about a matter of 2 to 3 days. I don't think even if we had 2 to 3 more days, it wouldn't have made a difference to them. They're teaching the same thing over and over and over every year.
If you are a person who has been chattel, you're not human. You're a cow, you're a goat, you're a sheep. Why would you continue to disrespect me? It was done with purpose. It was done with purpose. In 1956, there was a project by a president that I thought was halfway decent. And it was called the Wetback Project. What they were afraid of, that there were too many dark-skinned Mexicans coming into Southern California. So whether you were a citizen or not, they rounded everybody up and drove them across the border. disrespect.
Before we deflect to current, let's stage the past.
Yeah, but that is the past. That was 1956. Okay.
Okay.
And that is the past. If you go back, the constant disrespect and what they call the gentleman's agreement here in the United States, which was, we're going to make African peoples 3/5 human. 3/5. That's the gentleman's agreement. And that was Jefferson and Washington and Hancock, and the only guy that disagreed was Benjamin Franklin, because he had 3 black mistresses and he didn't want them to be partially human. He didn't like it. That's the gentleman's agreement. That agreement stood not only in the United States, but throughout the Caribbean into South America until 1850. And it stood tall. Okay. The British decided, we have too many islands with too many Africans on these islands, too many indentured servants. We can't win. Look at what happened in Haiti. Look at what they're trying to prevent in Cuba. We can't win. Free them. Free them, if you call that freedom. You're still working for the same man. He's giving you, 10 pence a month to do the same job. Okay.
So we spoke about, I mentioned George Washington, in correlation with Benjamin Banneker during a time of slavery. I think I know the answer to this question, but let me ask you, Karin, did any of these American presidents own slaves?
Oh, Lord.
Yep.
The first 10 out of 12 of the U.S. presidents were enslavers. That is an astonishing thing, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at Washington. We're looking at James Madison. We're looking at Jefferson. We're looking at, Monroe. We're looking at Van Buren. We're looking at Tyler. We're looking at all of the first 10 presidents of the 12. It's astonishing.
And these are some of the people that our children are being taught
were great men.
Were great men.
Above, any condemnation. Yeah.
Beyond reproach.
Beyond reproach. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Washington was the first president to sign the first law called the First Fugitive Slave Act, which allowed U.S. citizens to return runaway enslaved people back to their state of origin. Isn't that a beautiful thing? And he's considered the father of this country. Signed that into law, and that held for quite some time.
That is correct.
So I'll just interject. There's a book here by Margaret Kimberly, and it's called Prejudental. Prejudental, and in this book she explores all the presidents that owned slaves and so on, and you get a nice backstory of that. So just wanted to put that there, being that we spoke about the presidents, former presidents, or previous presidents, I was saying, that were slavers as well.
When I think of my education in this school system, and most of it has been here, you will hear about, Washington. You'll hear maybe about two or three presidents who actually owned slaves. and have had children as a result of these relationships that they had with their slaves and so forth. But you're not hearing the numbers that this particular, project has revealed. And as you stated, Sam, that, other authors and writers are bringing this to the forefront. You're not hearing the mass numbers, like this. Not in school. It's not structured like that.
But the strange part about all of this, though, this somehow it's coming across like news to some people. This information is out there.
For some, it is. For some people, it is. Not everyone tries to get information independently. They depend on the institutions. And they don't realize the institutions are as racist as the people who wrote the books and stuff like that and created the laws.
I don't think that's considered at all.
Because we sit back and we wait for our enslavers
to teach.
The same ones to teach our children.
Mm-hmm.
And expect somehow that they are going to teach them
the correct information.
The correct information. And I'm pretty sure, going back to what we mentioned earlier on in terms of the shirt, most of us were taught what in school? Go to school, get an education, and what?
Work hard. 50 years.
Work hard.
Get a job.
Work for somebody.
No one taught us about opening up a business. No one taught us about finance. Why you had to pay after you come out of school to go learn about finance and higher learning in a university? Isn't finance part of your daily life? Your daily life? Why aren't we being taught these things? Why aren't we teaching our children these things? And we sit back and wait on the very same institution to educate them, thinking that somehow they are going to pass the right information on.
You brought up that's an interesting point. Very interesting point. If you're a boxer and you fight someone who practices capoeira and he's swinging his feet all around your head and you got your hands up trying to defend yourself, you're going to get hurt. Somebody's going to get hurt. Okay? You have to learn what your captors do to go around it. So in terms of going and getting the education that they wish to give you, is certainly not, it is not a detractor. But you got to add that extra. And that's where the 1619 Project comes in. That's where, here's the truth. They just recently, they've changed the names of three products. Three products that all of us have seen all of our lives. Okay? Uncle Ben's.
Like me.
Uncle Ben's, Aunt Jemima, and Mrs. Butterworth. Okay? Aunt Jemima with her kerchief looking like she just walked off of the set of Gone with the Wind. And if anybody, see, I'm old enough now, if anybody calls me uncle, I will shoot them dead. Because that's about the nastiest thing. That's like, oh, old black man, we won't bother you. Okay? But these were the names of major products. And Mrs. Butterworth, with her dress, actually had the bottle shaped. Okay? And when it got to about 1990, they tried to make her white. It was too late. It was too late. Now they've just decided in 2021 to change the names of these things. This is what the 1619 Project talks about. How did you get here? How did you get here? Well, here's the history. now look at things differently through.
So tell me something. Who are the bad guys here? The Europeans, the Muslims, or the Africans who also engage in trafficking human flesh? Who the bad guys here?
That's the whole point. There are no bad guys, and everybody's bad. If you look at things through a clear eye, you actually see everyone and everything for who it is. But what's happened is it's become a talking point. Oh my God, the 1619 Project. It's going to make little Johnny, who's, fair-skinned and white and got freckles, feel bad about himself. Well, wait a minute. There are 4 people right here, above, below, and aside me, who have 18 generations of people who have felt bad. So why can't we tell the truth and understand how we got here? How do we get here? How do we arrive? What sort of madness? There is no particular bad guy. What you talk about, slavery morphed into a number of other things, and we don't even have time to cover it tonight. But one of the things that it morphed into was eugenics. And the last law that allowed a state to sterilize a woman because she didn't meet the Aryan, how do you say, standard was California. They just abolished the law 4 weeks ago.
Let's touch on the legal system. We can't gauge the cruelty historically because it's happened in so many cultures. But you can gauge when a group of people are not willing to do their own work on their own property to better themselves. The rap slave built it into their laws, into the Constitution. The Constitution protects slave owners. Mm-hmm. There are 84 clauses in the Constitution that deal directly with the enslaved. Mm-hmm. But most of the Constitution protects the slave owners, protects the property as we were chattel. It's a slaveocracy, not a democracy that they developed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference when you look across the globe at other cultures that also enslaved one group or another. They built it into the laws in this country. And if you go back far enough into the archives, some of those laws are still in place.
Yes. Yes.
That's the difference.
Until further notice.
One of the, and I was going to mention this, we discussed this, about food and health. And in the South, in all of the southern states, blacks who were free had their own land. You couldn't buy a long gun. You could not buy a rifle. You could only buy a scattergun, shotgun. If you know anything about guns, a shotgun is only good up to about 15 feet. Okay? A rifle could go up to 3/4 of a mile with the right load. And you could take down a deer or an elk. But what the intent was to have black folks hunting for rabbits and small game and keep themselves on their land. Okay. Go ahead, Karin.
You said that they owned land, but in the snap, they were displaced. They couldn't will it to anyone. They couldn't inherit anything.
Correct.
They even if they owned and kept it for a while, anyone came along, corporate or any white person came along, they could just be displaced. So
And that is true. But there was a certain caste system that came along.
A racial caste system.
No. It was a technical caste system.
Meaning,
okay, if you knew how to produce, or you were the butcher on a plantation, and you knew what it took to produce a large crop, yes, you would in short shrift own a piece of land. Now the question was, could you keep it? Could you keep it? You will own it and they will let you buy it, but could you keep it? Could you sustain yourself and your family on that land? Because they will come in to burn you out or to try to hang you. And if you couldn't defend yourself, then exactly what you said, it became easy. It became very, very easy. So what you're saying is absolutely correct. But there were certain classes of Black folks that couldn't be touched. Blacksmiths, so on and so forth. Where
because they still serve the purpose for Massa.
That's exactly right. Yeah, something that Massa couldn't do.
Yeah, he was still incapable of producing such goods and doing such tasks. Mm-hmm. So he made sure that they were protected classes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because he would be hurt in the process.
Mm-hmm. What a lot of people are just becoming familiar with now in Tulsa, Black Wall Street, was basically a merchant class that came all together to the same place, serving Black folks and Black folks only. And as soon as the poor, raggedy white folks saw they're doing a little too well,
take them out,
burn it down. Burn it down.
There's another thing we never seem to touch on, but also is how religion was used. How religion was used to help suppress people. You know, we came out of slavery in the late 1800s, and right out of that, all these new religions seem to pop up. Mm-hmm. 1830, we had the Mormons rise. In 1870, Jehovah's Witness rise up. Something that was started by a guy named Russell. 1879, we had Christian Science, Seventh-day Adventists. That pop up in the late 1800s also. And the thing is that the very same way the house slave would hold on to Massa, like Malcolm said, when Massa gets sick, he said, Massa, we sick. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Massa, we sick. We came out of slavery holding on to these religions and holding on to our pastors and our preachers as if somehow this is something that we brought with us, something that this is another thing I can't understand. Something that was started yesterday by somebody, by a human being just like yourself, started some religion, and now generations later we holding on to this as for betting your soul, betting your eternal soul on this religion. Something once again that was passed on to us, no different from, like I said, the name and the name, the religion, the language, all of these other things that were given to us. Those religions were also given to us. And today, we, like I said, we bet our eternal soul on them, and still hold on to it.
I completely agree with that. I just wanted to add, like, the laws, the lawmakers, the racist science and racist literature allowed the continued belief system that blacks were subhuman, were from a slave race. And so we were not due the same protections legally because we were so much less than. But that was all entrenched into the culture, religious, as well as science, as well as literature.
Yes.
That was all woven in.
My question
that belief system
to Karin, all of you, whoever wants to answer, is why is it posed dangerous to teach about things that happened? Why does that become dangerous?
That was basically my next question. Where did the fear of the educated Negro come from?
Oh, they have a right to be fearful.
There seemed to be a fear of the educated Negro.
That's why
if we were so ignorant and backward as some of us were taught to believe, why was there a concerted effort to keep us uneducated? And then once we opened up a book and started to learn to read and wanted to go to school, then all of a sudden you begin to fear the educated man, the educated black man. Where did that come from?
The first law written into the Virginia and South Carolina territorial assemblies was, it is illegal to teach a slave to read.
Oh yeah, we know that. Why? Let's get into the why. Where did the fear of the educated black man come from?
I know what you're doing to me. Okay, you would have they would have what they called they call it Black Jesus meetings. Now, the preacher couldn't read, but he'd open the book and was taught, memorized particular parts of the Bible that were supposed to calm other slaves.
What I found fascinating, I remember seeing a picture depicting an image of a slave overseer. This, what you just described, a slave overseer in the midst of a black church, watching and listening to what was being taught to the slaves in the church, because and he couldn't go off script, basically, from what the slave owner wanted.
He was,
that was an amazing image.
Serve your master well. And
so
is that part of
the 1619 project to also dispel some of these untruths that we holding on to for years?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And you think the faith healers and the the organized religions are going to sit back and allow that to be taught that they're lying to you? This thing was made up yesterday.
To go against the church.
One of
is to go against God.
Some who do, some who don't. That's a mixed bag of tricks.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we have to mention Abe Lincoln. All I learned about Abe Lincoln, yes, I know. We gotta go there.
Brother from another mother. Don't nobody talk about.
You can bring in that piece. What I learned in school from, say, We say junior high, and you'd call it middle school down here in the South. From like junior high school on, how he freed the slave. He was deemed, the great liberator for the slaves. Not at all.
Mm-mm.
He wasn't. He was opposed to black equality.
Mm-hmm.
He believed that free black people were, quote, troublesome presence.
Yes.
I read that in something.
Yes.
He appointed. He had a conversation with a newly appointed commissioner of, can't remember his exact title, in his home at a party. And he introduced to this commissioner that he wants to send them back.
That's what he
to
wanted
another
to
country. Yeah. They don't belong here. They were the reason for all the problems that led to slavery. They were the problem. They were the main cause of of all the problems surrounding slavery.
Mm-hmm.
You blame the victims.
We need to also remember
committed by the
we need to also remember slavery coming to an end wasn't because they suddenly had a change of heart they became good people. They became good Christians. It was all about that mighty dollar. And I forgot, we spoke about cotton, but we also had 2 sisters that helped put an end to slavery, and we don't seem to mention them.
Mm-hmm.
2 sisters, Polly and Esther. When Polly and Esther came along, there wasn't such a great need for cotton anymore.
It wasn't just cotton. All right, there were 2 places where cotton were the crop of choice. The Alabama-Mississippi line and Texas. Okay. Our main crops in this country were tobacco, rice, and sugarcane. Those were our cash crops. Period. End of sentence. It takes a lot of land to grow cotton. So it was, take a picture of the pickaninnies out there hurting their hands, pulling the cotton off. Oh, that's real cute. That was real cute. But the horrible part about it is, it was a black man that developed the cotton gin. We ain't got to pick that no more. Just rip it up out the ground, put it in that. Okay? They didn't know what to do with him. You know where he ran to with his money? Trinidad. Okay? A brilliant man. Brilliant man.
One of the myths that I learned some years ago, a couple of decades ago, but I think a lot of people are still under the belief system that most of the slaves were in the South. The North had more than their share and then some.
Sure did.
They certainly did.
Sure did.
New York was heavily invested. Some 40%. At one point, I read some 40% of the population in the North were slave owners.
Yes. There were slave cages in the White House and under the Capitol building.
I cannot.
Okay, and they still exist. They are still there.
I read that in the 90s, I think it's 91, some construction site was being dug up, and they found over 20,000, the remains of over 20,000 people of African.
Yes.
And that's just a small pocket. So there's just, to give you an idea of the numbers that were up north?
I think the reason that that thought exists is that the South remained agrarian and needed large amounts of labor. The North began to mechanize, where they didn't need the large numbers of slaves. Let them go. Let them go. We'll pay them 5 cents a day. Let them go. It's better than having to pay for their upkeep. This is all economic. And until we understand that it was economic, and I have been saying from day one that all of us have been talking, economics rules your world. For generations. For generations. Let us ask ourselves, why did the English even bother to go to Jamaica? Why would they
get rid of the very hostile crew?
New territory.
To get rid of the most hostile.
They had to get rid of the most ignorant.
The most hostile. The most hostile.
The Maroons.
I claim it.
The Maroons, the ones who were fighting back and chopping off hands.
Some of them went to Guyana too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But the reason they were there was pure economics. There were things they wanted. They wanted sugar. They wanted tobacco. They wanted all of these things that they didn't have. Could you imagine for a moment? Let's go back to 1550. And I offer you a cup of tea, Mr. Henry. All right? I have 2 things to sweeten it with. Beets and honey. Which do you choose?
Beets.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You ever taste it? It's nasty. It's nasty. You spit it right out of your mouth.
Maybe you might.
Dirt
no, maybe you
flavoring. And that's what they put milk in it. Is it the beets taste like dirt and well, you know, Mr. Colon, who went across, he said, these Indians got some stuff here, and it grows wild, and you can crush it. And he brought it back. That's why the British were in Jamaica, and the Spanish were in Santo Domingo, and et cetera, and the French. And that's why they were there. That's the only reason they were there. They had to, A, have somebody to figure out how to grow it. B, have the labor to pluck it and then get it back to Europe, where some lady with zero overhead at the end of the day, because they never wanted to share in the profits, and that's the bottom line. They wanted all for themselves. So let me ask you all something now. The 1619 project, it's coming, whether some folks like it or not. It's going to be taught. We know we are not going to sit back and wait on 1619s, 1820, any project to teach our children. We know that we have to get up and teach them what is right, teach them what was wrong, teach them how to maneuver even in a society where they're trying to bring it back. We know we have to continue teaching, we have to continue educating our own to make sure that history doesn't repeat itself. So we here as educated folks,
what I like to tell people is that we need to read. Family, we need to read. Read. Not just the books from the European curriculum that they put in place, that they set in place for you to read, but read. Read to gain access to some of the facets of your indigenous culture. I know a lot of us have no idea what that is, because some people say, yeah, well, Africa, I ain't left nothing in Africa. Ain't nobody from here for Africa, and I ain't know nothing about Africa. And me, you know, Africa. Where in Africa you from? That's why you read. Read and try and gain something, to recapture something from your indigenous culture, because yes, sir, you don't have none. You don't have none. You have no history. Yes, sir, your history starts with slavery. Your history starts with Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King, and that is what they keep teaching you year after year, year after year. Our history is deeper than that. Read. Read books like what they never taught you in history class. Read books like They Came Before Columbus from Ivan Van Sertima. Read books from J.A. Rogers. Read books from John Henry Clark. Read books from Yosef Ben-Yakanan. Read like it's going out of style, and help to recapture something from your indigenous culture. Read and understand spirituality, which was here way before religion. Because as I told you all just now, the majority of that structured religion that most of you all hold on to for dear life, and holding on to your pastor and close your eye and look up and pray, that started around the same time slavery was going on. And it had nothing to do with us. That was for them. And I said, the Jehovah's Witness, yes, I'm the Seventh-day Adventists, the Mormons, all of that. And you go back to Islam, yes, the Arabs, who up to today do not identify themselves as African. Oh yeah, I'm from Egypt. Excuse me, where is that? The last time I checked, Egypt still in Africa. But a lot of the Egyptians, the modern day Egyptians, will not identify themselves as Africans. I'm from Egypt. Yes, because you're an Arab living in Africa who was also a slave trader, your ancestors. Because they see themselves different from the sub-Sahara Africans.
Depends who you talk to, Curtis. If you talk to a Bedouin who they consider themselves,
yeah, a better one. Yeah. I'm painting with a white brush here. I'm painting with a white brush. And all I'm saying, where these modern day religions, and I call them modern, from 18-something slavery religions, the ones that they made sure that you held on to, it had nothing to do with you. Ask yourself, what, and I use the word religion, what form of spirituality did Africans practice before slavery? And most of us cannot answer that question. That's why we need to read. So I know I'm not the only one here that reads, so just give us, each of you, pass on to the people one book, one source of knowledge. I mean, everybody today just seemed to jump on Google and answer something, or go to YouTube and find out what book you recommend that we need to read and not wait on this 1619 project to save us. Or
I don't think there's any piece of literature that can save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to
recommend a book. Recommend a book.
That's tough. That's
really
tough.
is.
So am I talking here and all you reading? Am I bigging up all you and all you reading? Nothing. All this.
I read constantly, but it's tough to.
You got nerve. You know better.
Yeah, I know. Don't know, man. Listen.
Yeah.
First of all, he's trying to hide the little gray piece of beard he got there, and he knows better than that. Yeah, there's really not a piece of literature I could point at that would say, "Oh, you need to read this." There are a lot of collective works that I would say to read. Collective works of James Baldwin.
Baldwin is good.
Soul on Ice. There are a lot of collective, but it's the collective that you read. Not any particular thing that's going to make you. You know what? I hate using this word because I hear so many crazy people use it. You're not going to get woke. I can't even stand to hear the word from one piece of literature. It's the collective. You put together County Cullen and James Baldwin in the same evening. Wow. You've read something. You go out of your house with a new swagger. In fact, you're probably going to get arrested. But that's all right. So I have no idea. I could not.
So drop some, since you have the floor right now, drop some pearls. Drop some pearls for us before we walk out of here this evening. Karin, I always like to start with you. I'm not going to tell you what to say. Yeah, I know you. I
don't like it, right? We were talking about read. Now,
you like it?
I'm a huge advocate for reading, for education. There was a book called Shh, The Animals Are Sleeping that I read to your then 4 or 5-year-old. Well, shh, the Negroes are sleeping. The schools in this country have failed us in so many ways, but more importantly, we've failed ourselves. We've already said it, but it bears repeating. There's so many historians over the years that have tried to enlighten us as a people. We need to learn the importance of education in this country. To learn and pass it on is so important, so very important. And I know a lot of 20 plus, 30 plus year olds, African Americans, who couldn't care less about advancing themselves beyond, say, a high school education, who are constantly stuck in a rut of jobs that just eliminate them at a snap. And they still don't get it. They still don't get it. Once you educate yourself, it doesn't have to be the institutionalized type education, but know what the hell to expect in this country and know how to work your way around it. History is doomed to repeat itself. If we, as a people of color, brown, black, whatever, if we don't learn how to work our way through the system efficiently, history is doomed to repeat itself. About a year ago, I remember Mark saying, at the end, once they end the moratorium in this country on evictions, the amount of homeless people, that population is the numbers are astounding to me. Absolutely astounding. And you're going to see a return to uneducated people, because once you're out there on the street, it is the hardest thing to rebound. Even if your mind is straight, trying to get, especially if you have children with you. Oh my goodness, what a nightmare. It is so hard to rebound, to get those bills paid, to rebuild the credit, and to get back into housing and get the job and all of that. It is so hard to rebound. So we're going to see a repeat of history. There's no doubt about that. And these lawmakers are sitting, who are supposed to be representing us, are sitting around not making a decision, not being able to come together and extend the moratorium. Because officially, we still are under pandemic restrictions.
Yeah.
But people are going to be out on their ass?
Preach, sister.
Please.
Ooh.
I'm done.
Preach. Go ahead.
Correct is right.
Wow. Go ahead, Karin. I want to smoke a cigarette behind that. Whoo.
Mark, take me home.
If we don't understand our history, we do not know our future. It is that simple. If we cannot talk about our history in real terms, then we have none. So our future is doomed. It's doomed. We have to talk to our kids, our grandkids, and be real about things. Be real about them. Don't, it's a horrible thing to say, whitewash them. Okay. Don't whitewash them. Well, things were hard, but blah, blah, blah. I tell my kids the truth. I lived with two professional parents, and I used to turn the light on in the kitchen, and the floor would move. And it wasn't the floor, it was them roaches, man. That's truth. That's truth. Well, we have generation after generation after generation of truth. Let's start telling it. Let's start getting it part of our American conversation. So, here we are on this show. And we are Caribbean people. But we're in America, and our conversation counts. It counts. Let's make it count. There's my pearls. Let me give it a little. That was what's left from last week's little put juju on you.
Mr. Archer, Sam's Digital.
Yes, man. Yes. Let me just, so because, I was absorbing a lot of what was being said tonight. I didn't want to cut people off and all of that good stuff. But this was a good topic in terms of building, understanding, and just revisiting some of the things that our ancestors went through. And let me find out from the team real quick. Now, in reference to critical race theory, is this also part in the thing that they're trying to eliminate a few things? Now, the thing about me and the way how some things are stated, I understand this is a university, something that's used in the university level, opposed to the elementary school or the primary or high school level. And just the title of it is kind of moronic to me, though, because what's in the theory has already been proven. Normally, if you have a theory, you're working it out. You ever watch a detective show and they say, tell me about your hunch. What's your theory? And I feel so. And in the end, when the case is worked out, you could tear your theory up because you proved it. And that's what a theory is something that you have to work out. And then when it's proven, it's done. So that will be an interesting thing. But everything that's already in there has already been proven. So what do we need the theory for? So that's something that we need to research. But, I've been seeing that the reputation of the clan being cleaned up. Well, they're not really that bad, So they're sort of like I don't know, the world is upside down and then turning upside down inside out for some strange reason. So the clan is getting good reputation now. And I know maybe they're offering breakfast to the kids and, maybe what the Panthers used to do back then, inner city stuff.
Oh, you're rude, sir.
I don't know, but they're getting a good rep of late. So, and then somehow they want to tag, the life of Dr. King and Malcolm X and a lot of the guys that gave their lives, Medgar, all of them, they want to tag them into this whole critical race theory thing and say, yeah, well, we want to do away with this. And when it makes no sense, like, what is this? What are you talking about? What are you trying? So it's interesting that we need to look at this and really pay close attention to what's being done. And one more thing before I close off. When this whole cancel culture was starting, we had a post going, and I said, very soon guys are going to be, guys are gonna slow down trying to talk to women because with the rate where things are going. And I somewhat said in the post, this was about maybe 4 years ago, and I said, I think this might open the door to the whole pedophilia thing that that they want to bring into, and they're looking and finding for ways to try to normalize that behavior. And people came on the post and said, that's a stretch. Now 4 years later, it's not really a stretch. I mean, things are like really blatant. In terms of desensitizing us to accept lifestyles, so all of this we have to pay attention to and understand how are we going to relate to the young people, to the next generation, to the focus group in some cases, how are they going to relate to this information that that we have to, I think Mark said earlier he didn't like the word, but yeah, we had to get woke. So we got to wake up.
I have my belt right here.
Anyway, but one more thing. Last week, I made a boo-boo on our YouTube channel, but we had a really good conversation. So please, if you didn't get to check that out, please check out that conversation we had last week. It is available finally on our regular channel. So please be sure to check that out. Those of you that are looking on the YouTube side of things, smash the likes, subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet, so you'll know that when we're coming on live, you'll get an alert and all of that good stuff. So let me point to the guy over here. So we on to you, and I'm happy to support the Excel apparel stuff here. Be your own boss. So you all could. That's right. That's the This guy, no, here, yeah. This guy over here is the creator of this one here, right? That's you're the creator.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
All right. So those of you who want to be your own boss, get your gear from Excel Apparel, and so I need take a selfie and send it in, And I don't know, the chat is really quiet tonight. What's going on with the people in the chat? You need to say something real quick before we close out tonight.
It's a tough subject.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Acknowledging the people in the chat. Thank you, Andrea Lamode, Sherry Ann Sylvester, and Miss Rose Jacob. Thank you all for joining in on the live conversation this evening. And as Sam was stating, get your shirts at excelmedia.net. Go there and look for the Excel Apparel page and make your purchase. We have this among many other designs. Sherry Ann said that the emasculation of the African male was one way to destroy the African home. The only issue I have with what you stated there, Sherry Ann, is that you stated this in the past, and as opposed to was, it's sad to say that it should be replaced with is, because it is still happening. It is still happening. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Sherry Ann, and those who were too shy to speak. Thank you all for joining us. Earlier on, Mark spoke about the truth, and I heard Sam echoed about the truth. But what is the truth? What is the truth? I have to echo some words of one of my favorite thespians, one of my favorite poets who has passed on, Dro, Will the Real One. He said that the Emancipation Proclamation didn't have a damn thing to do with a Haitian. Unquote. The Emancipation Proclamation didn't have a damn thing to do with a Haitian, a Jamaican, Trinidadian, or African American. When those documents were written, ratified, and signed, the people who looked a lot like us were working for free, building this great nation. When the OK was given to light up the skies with fireworks on July 4th, every July 4th, people who look like us were being subjected to inhumane living conditions and working for free to build this great nation. So if some see it fit to finally teach the truth, then why is it that some of you seem to be having great difficulty looking in the mirror? Looking in a mirror that exposes your true history and our real contribution to building this great nation. Why, huh? I know. The truth hurts like a... Peace and blessings. Good night.
Woo!
Go ahead, brother.
Hi, I'm Dr. Judith Barnes. I'm an author, a playwright, poet. I'm also a broadcaster by training, and I recently found out about 2 years ago that I can paint paintings, which means I paint sceneries, I paint landscape, I paint animals. I have just discovered, and so that I can do this. And so along with all the other gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I have paintings, and they are on view and for sale on Etsy and also on Facebook. And if you desire to order any painting or order one of my books, because I'm also an author, please give me a call at 470-564-8267. That's Dr. Judith, and the number again, whether you want to just talk to me or order one of my paintings or one of my books, please feel free to call 470-564-8267. Thank you.